Good morning, Mr. Jones. I wanted to take a brief moment and give you some feedback on your discussion posting. And I want to remind you that every assignment usually has two aspects to it, right? It has the technical directions. For instance, in this case, it said respond to 2 of the following questions, each question being answered in a paragraph. So for a total of 2 paragraphs, that's the technical directions. And then there's the quality of executing those directions. In other words, looking at the quality of your responses. So keep that in mind as I evaluate your response. First of all, we have 5 questions here, and you're supposed to answer 2 of them. If I look at your work at the bottom, it becomes apparent that you answered the first question, and that is the concept of the small L contributing to being in leadership, contributing to being a disciple leader. Okay? And so that's the first question. Let's evaluate how you did. It says, and I quote your writing, "This is the first I've ever heard or read about the concept of small L leadership." Okay? I would ask you the question, have we addressed yet, and we're going to keep asking you that question, how the small L in leadership contributes to being a disciple leader. So this really, you're just relating your experience, so we haven't really addressed the prompt yet, but that's fine. I am fascinated and impressed with this thinking. Well, that's good. We'd like to keep you thinking. I feel I have in the past been taught to embrace the ideas it encompasses. Well, that's great. At this point, would you say you have answered the question, how can leading with a small L contribute to being a disciple leader? Not yet, but we're not quite through. Okay, it says leadership that serves and ministers, loves and supports, and blesses other people. It reminds, and if you look, Word has underlined reminds. It looks like maybe there's an I missing. It reminds me very much of being young and first hearing the story of the Savior washing the feet of his disciples. Yeah, a very poignant example of the Savior's leadership for sure. I'm not sure at this point that we have actually connected how being a small L leader has contributed to being a disciple leader. And finally it says, everything in this class, however, seems to be a new idea or freshly stated and gives me insight into why so many members, it looks like we have a little spelling mistake, have such wonderful abilities to lead and teach. That is very gracious sentiment, but at the same time, I don't believe we have answered the prompt in any of your sentences. And that's probably the main problem I have with the content is even though you had some good thoughts here, they weren't really relevant to how can leading with a small L contribute to being a disciple leader. So we got to maybe focus a little bit more on answering the question. Now, you also see red underlines, and in Word does a really good job of pointing out mistakes in grammar and mistakes in spelling. So if you paste that or maybe get a plugin for your browser called Grammarly, will catch some of those mistakes, and you can correct them before you hand it in. And it's not a bad idea to have maybe a roommate or someone proofread different eyeballs on it and see if there are any errors that are glaring, because you don't want to hand in things that have errors that you probably should have caught. So if you look at the scoring, it says content development posted a thread that included at least 2 of the 5 listed. And it looks like you attempted to address one of them. We're still missing one. Okay, so that's 50% of the assignment. And then it says mechanics. Sentences are complete and clear, but then spelling and grammar are correct. We have a couple of spelling errors that I think you might have been able to catch. And also, we probably need this however, because it's sort of a side comment. They call that a parenthetical. It probably should be set off with commas. For instance, everything in this class, comma, however, comma, seems to be a new idea. Or, and that's good that you included that conjunction here, after an independent clause. So you don't have far to go in polishing it up with grammar, but it's probably a good idea to recognize that whenever you have a however stated parenthetically, it needs to be embraced by commas. But we're all in a learning mode. I just would caution you to make sure that you fulfill the technical aspects of an assignment, for instance, 2 of the following questions, and that you ask yourself at the end, did I address the prompt? And I think things will go well for you. Thank you.